Hello, welcome to Shaka Extra Time, a show that comes to you every week. I am Paul Ndiho. Joining me from home in Arlington, Virginia, a suburb of Washington, D.C., is the Shaka Ssali himself, aka the Kawale Kid. Hello, my friend.
Hello, Ndugu Paul.
How are you?
I have to say that I remain simple, easy, and as some of my fans have suggested, an awesome son of Mother Africa.
Speaking about your fans and Shaka, we've been getting overwhelming congratulations messages coming from your fans across the world ever since you announced that you are going to be retiring very soon. We've been getting a lot of well wishes, a lot of messages, people wishing you luck. Maybe why don't we dive into some of that stuff? From what I've seen, I don't know whether you're making the right call. Why are you retiring when you still are much loved by a lot of people?
Very interesting observation or question, or both, as a matter of fact, Ndugu Paul. First of all, I should say frankly that I'm profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled for the continuing compliments and support from my fans. However, there is a saying that everything that has a beginning has a middle and an end tied into each other. And for that reason, Ndugu Paul, someone once said that knowing why, how, and when to walk away is a sort of wisdom, really. And especially being able to do so pretty much, perhaps, requires profound soul searching and courage. And for that, I have to say, from the deepest, better part of my Kawale heart and soul, that walking away with your head raised high, that is considered to be a dignified exit. What say you, Ndugu Paul?
I could not agree more with that observation that you just made. I think you've made the right call. There are a lot of people who say that, like you correctly said, that knowing when to leave is not just wisdom, but is probably what defines you as a person. And I think what you're teaching us now is the simple fact that no matter how good you are, you get to a point and say, you know what, maybe I just need to go to the next level. And I wish politicians across Africa could maybe borrow a leaf from what you just said, Shaka.
You know, it sometimes, as a human being, can really be very tempting to hang on and keep going, because you keep at least you keep at least getting the sense that you have the support that you need to keep going. But knowing when to do so, Ndugu Paul, and knowing when to pass on the baton to a younger generation, I think, honestly, that is the right thing to do. Because whether we like it or not, Ndugu Paul, all of us, including those who have presided over very successful enterprises, like the opportunity I have had to host Straight Talk Africa for more than 20 years, have an expiration date. All of us should really feel that we have an expiration date. We should also know that we did not invent the wheel, nor did we, in fact, reinvent the wheel. We should know that there are people And in fact, in one particular case, there are giants who came before me. And some of those giants were able to lend me their shoulders to climb on so that I could see a little farther than them. And I think, to be honest with you, it follows logically, therefore, that it is time for me also to offer my shoulders so that the next generation can and could, and in fact can, step on my shoulders so that it too can see a little bit further than I.
You know, Shaka, you just reminded me of a saying in our language, but I will literally translate it into English and say that even the best dancer leaves the stage or knows when to leave the stage. So what you just said is remarkable in a sense that you've gotten to that point, but there are some of your fans who are saying that you are at the top of your game. Why retire? A lot of leaders keep saying that they, who are even older than you, who have been around for even a longer time than you have been, keep saying that, you know, we are still the best option that there is. How did you come to that conclusion that maybe this was the best time for you to step aside?
I learned from the best. And one of them is the Brazilian international soccer icon, Pele himself. He, in fact, a couple of years ago, autographed a football for me. Pele is the kind of guy that resigned when he was on top of his game. If I recall correctly, he basically resigned in the 1970s when he played in a team that won the World Cup in Mexico City. And not only did it win that World Cup, it actually won the third World Cup that Brazil as a nation has since kept. Pele scored in that match, and he decided to quit international football. Pele has since remained incredibly a respectable international icon without even trying to play about with the ball. Pele is an incredibly dignified, world-class player. Is an incredibly dignified, world-class human being. I felt like perhaps I could borrow a leaf from someone like Pele.
Wow, very interesting. Let's dive into some of your fans here. Let's start in Lusaka, Zambia. Let's go to Leonard Lumbeta. When Straight Talk Africa was aired on radio at a time in Zambia, I followed the show with my tiny radio. Later, our local television station started a live broadcast on Wednesday nights. What a great Pan-Africanist you've been, Mr. Shaka. I wish you well. What advice can you give me as a young person who has looked up to you? How can I succeed in life?
Well, Leonard, thank you very, very much, first of all, for your compliments and support. I have to say that, in fact, Leonard, the other person that influenced me enormously happens to be your founding president, Dr. David Kenneth Kaunda, from the time Zambia was Northern Rhodesia. He helped to regain political independence from the British for what later became as the Republic of Zambia. That man served his country for at least more than 20 years and held an election that he lost and conceded defeat with dignity to then opposition leader Frederick Chiluba. He has lived with dignity since the early 90s when he lost power. And so basically, all you need to do really is to first and foremost, Leonard, identify what you want. And especially if what you want is something that you could consider to be your passion. Once you identify what you want, look for the appropriate tools which you can then use to navigate your way, navigate and negotiate your way to your desired destination. Serve the best that you can. Make sure that you are the best at what you do. And don't worry very much about competing against others. Just compete against yourself in order to be the best that you can actually be, or at least the best that you could be. Once you are able to hit that threshold, you can be assured, at least from my experience, that you are a world-class player. And so long as you have the compliments and support of your audience or of the market forces, please go for it.
Let's go to another comment from Nana Kobena Sofo. Thank you, Mr. Shaka Ssali. It's been great watching you on television since childhood till now on Straight Talk Africa. You've been an amazing host. Again, it's great to see you sport our Kenti cloth. You've represented Africa very, very well. Do we hope to see you maybe in the near future speaking to young students at a university near us?
Nana, thank you very much for that very, very important question. And I thank you again for your compliments and support over the years. And I say this really, Nana, from the deepest, better part of the bottom of my Kawari heart and soul. And thank you so much again for thanking me for donning the African #1 dress, I call it, the authentic Kente cloth. I certainly intend to go across the African continent, visiting and talking, hopefully with an opportunity to motivate and inspire the African youth to be the best that they could be. I definitely look forward to someday being in the Ghanaian capital, Accra, perhaps at a university such as Legon. I hope that this time, if I am around, if and when I'm around, we will definitely be able to meet. Thank you.
Very nice. Let's go to Bedikan Godwin. You were there to make us see the real meaning of Africans and needed to be liberated through all the letters you arranged in your words. Thank you very much for doing your part. Perhaps we hope to see you continue that kind of message.
Thank you very, very much, Godwin, again, for your compliments and support over the years. And thank you very, very much for your words of wisdom. I definitely intend to remain a Pan-Africanist at heart and a Pan-Africanist in practice, because I am the sort of guy that does not recognize the 1884 Berlin Conference, which was chaired by the German Chancellor Bismarck, where Europeans came together to divide Africa as if it was a piece of loaf without a single African present. And for that, I definitely have been, to some degree, a disciple of your founding president, the Osajefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, a man who was perhaps the single most important visionary that the African continent has yet had. I remember the man on March 6, 1957, when he said and challenged the Ghanaian people, and indeed through them, the African people, that the independence of Ghana would be meaningless unless it was linked with the total liberation of the African continent. He did not simply or merely talk the talk. He actually walked the talk by providing the necessary tools so that Africans would actually walk the walk. And by 1994, when apartheid South Africa ceased to exist, replaced by the first democratically elected African president, the Madiba, Nelson Mandela, that political aspect of the Osagefo's vision was realized. What is left now is to make sure that we also realize the economic aspect of Africa so that the resources of Africa could actually be put to use for the benefit of the people of Africa and the African diaspora.
Okay, let's move on to Abaho Paril Pedia. Ugandans, we have been proud of you, Mr. Shaka Ssali, for your enormous work towards Uganda and Africa. May the Almighty God continue to grant you happiness in your life. But perhaps more importantly, can you come back to Uganda to serve?
Thank you very, very much for those words of wisdom, Ndugu Abaho. I certainly look forward to serving Uganda and indeed serving Africa, and through them serving humanity, no matter where my station is. But in this particular case, I certainly hope to get the opportunity to come back to my motherland, Uganda. Unfortunately for now, Ndugu Abaho, I am not in control of my schedule. The schedule is being controlled right now by the coronavirus pandemic. But as soon as the vast majority of humanity is vaccinated, and as soon as the vast majority develop the herd immunity and societies begin to return to a semblance of normalcy, you can expect to see me around the heartland of Africa, and that is Uganda.
Like I said at the onset of the show, we've got overwhelming compliments and questions. This show is entirely dedicated to your fans, Shaka. Let's go to Amir Ekeja. Congratulations, sir. You were an integral part of my upbringing. You helped me sharpen the way I view the world, I view my country, and I view the politics in Africa. Keep doing the same thing. You will inspire so many of us.
Thank you so much again for those good words of wisdom, Ekeja. And I'm glad that you say that I have been able to be of some value to your life. I hope that I will continue to do so by dedicating the rest of my life to the opportunity to motivate and inspire the African youth to be the best that they could be at whatever they choose drawing from my personal and professional journey.
We have another congratulatory message from one of your hometown boys, Nkurununje Onesmus Timo. Thank you for speaking truth to power. As Ugandans, we are proud of you. Maybe you should return back home to Uganda soon and contribute to the development of our country.
Thank you very much for those good words, Nkurununji. And for those who may not understand the meaning of your name, at least in our culture, we are talking about good news. That is the meaning of Nkurununji. You remind me of a former Burundian president, the late Pierre Nkurunziza. In Kinyarwanda Kirundi, it also means exactly the same like yours. Good news. I certainly take that as a piece of good news, Nkurununji, and I look forward to continuing to help develop not only Uganda, but Africa, because I have since then become an African with neither borders nor boundaries. And that is what is called Pan-Africanism.
Let's go to Frederick Elijah. Indeed, this awesome son of Mother Africa has inspired many of us. Thanks for your service as a senior journalist. What can young journalists learn from you?
I think basically what journalists probably could learn from me is that given that I am a kid from Kavali, a very small southwestern Ugandan town. If I could in fact walk from Kavali, come to the United States, and have a weekly program from what is considered to be the political de facto capital of the world, Washington, D.C., that anybody else could actually do the same, if not better. All you need, once again, is to be able to identify what you want. Once you are able to identify what you want, you look for the appropriate tools that you may need in order for you to negotiate and navigate your way to your desired destination. But in the process, you are going to have to be focused like a laser beam, which will also require that you become incredibly disciplined. You become disciplined, you become committed, and you basically make sure that you are the best that you could be. Once you are able to do that, and you are able to figure out a way of interacting with the people effortlessly, then I cannot imagine anything that is going to stop you from accomplishing your dreams. And by the way, I encourage you to have dreams, because if you don't have any dreams, you are as good really as occupying space. You need to have dreams, and once you have dreams, then you have to begin figuring out how to translate those dreams into practice.
Very interesting. There are some comments here. Maybe let me try to paraphrase some of what these people are saying. Shaka, what made you stay the course? A lot of young journalists come in, before you know it, they have moved on to greener pastures. What made you stick to what you do for a very long time?
I think, first of all, it has to do really with my background. Earlier on, I served in the military for 5 years. I was a paratroop lieutenant. I jumped out of planes. And for jumping out of planes, it took a lot of training, a lot of sacrifice. And through that, I worked in a military government. And I saw how some of my colleagues tended to abuse power. I saw some individuals doing what appeared to be the suffering for all of us. And from that time, I decided to dedicate my life to getting a skill that would help to enable me to expose what I saw as the social, political injustices. The answer was very simple. It was journalism. And I felt that I needed a skill. I needed a platform that would give me the opportunity to provide a voice to the voiceless, to inspire, to empower people with the information that ultimately will help liberate them from their oppressors. And I also felt that journalism, at least in my view, was neither an occupation nor a profession where I would be thinking about making money. I felt that journalism was a calling. And as a matter of fact, I consider myself to be part of a uniquely privileged class of missionary journalists, the sort of people that are there essentially to serve the people courtesy of the truth.
Are there some tips that you can share with us so that maybe we follow in your footsteps?
You must be willing to work very hard. In fact, to work beyond the call of duty. You have to be willing to be knowledgeable. And for that, there is no shortcut. You are going to have to do research, research, research. Because the secret of knowledge is in research. Research, research, period. You also must be very simple. You must remain ordinary. You must not accept the idea that you are an extraordinary individual. Because in fact, what you are is merely an ordinary individual who happens to interact, perhaps, with extraordinary circumstances. And I think you must also not be willing to be celebrated. You must not be willing to be worshipped, perhaps because somebody calls you a star, somebody calls you a megastar, somebody calls you famous. You know, there is a Chinese saying that men dread fame, just like a pig dreads fattening, for both could be a prelude to slaughter.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Shaka.
It's been a pleasure, just as always. And I look forward to interacting with you again very soon.